But is it really a charity project at all? Invictus funds were directed towards private jets, five-star hotels, and transportation for Harry and Meghan.
It was really odd, but I do think that people are starting to cotton on. Again, when we look at the numbers of corporate sponsors lining up for Birmingham, there really aren't that many, and we don't know who they are.
Reports claim that some wounded veterans paid for their own flights, covered their own hotel stays, and even had to buy parts of their own equipment themselves. That detail has left many people shocked and asking how that could happen. At the same time, the biggest names connected to the event were reportedly traveling with private transportation, enjoying luxury arrangements, and staying in five-star hotels. And that's before getting to the financial figure that several reports say was never expected to receive this much public attention. After hearing the full story, it's easier to understand why so many people are now asking difficult questions. The focus all begins with one petition, because that's the issue putting Prince Harry under intense public scrutiny right now.
Oh, the Invictus Games, it's great, it does all this. And then, you start looking into it and you're like, hey, what the heck is going on here? Those 535 competitors had to pay their own way.
According to reports, a petition is picking up support with one clear demand: remove Prince Harry from the Invictus Games. Not reorganize the charity, not launch an internal review, but remove him completely. The people supporting the petition say they are not criticizing veterans. Instead, they insist they are speaking out on behalf of them.
They had to pay their own housing for the games. They had to pay for their own equipment. And Harry and Meghan got a really nice vacation out of it, with lots of adorational speeches and clapping and crowds gathered for them.
That's exactly why this controversy has captured so much attention. At the same time, reports citing a source said to be connected to Invictus claim the royal family has allegedly made a decision about the upcoming Birmingham launch scheduled for next month. Reports suggest that no senior members of the royal family are expected to attend the upcoming event. That reportedly includes King Charles, Prince William, and Princess Catherine. The charity initiative that was once celebrated as Prince Harry's biggest success, and often described as one of his most meaningful achievements, now appears to be facing growing pressure from several directions.
A growing scandal involving Prince Harry and his last remaining genuine charity project, the Invictus Games. But is it really a charity project at all?
What was once praised is now being discussed for very different reasons. So what's driving all the concern? Critics say the financial reports have become the biggest talking point, arguing that the numbers raise even more questions than many people expected. The latest Invictus Games in Vancouver and Whistler reportedly welcomed 543 wounded and recovering service members from 23 countries.
Some of the key lines from Paula's brand new and really jaw-dropping reporting this week. And of course, she's been very careful because we know how litigious Prince Harry can be, but this is really extraordinary stuff.
On the surface, the mission remains inspiring, with a clear focus on recovery and resilience. But much of the public conversation quickly shifted to the reported price tag of $63.2 million. That works out to about $118,000 for each competitor. Critics have also compared those figures with similar competitions. The Warrior Games in the United States, which also supports wounded service members through sports, reportedly runs on about $2 million a year. Meanwhile, reports say a comparable event in Germany was organized for around $200,000, while hosting roughly half as many participants. That's why many people are looking at those figures and asking one simple question.
So Paula reports, the most recent games held in Vancouver and Whistler in February 2025 brought together 543 wounded military veterans from 23 countries. The total cost, 63.2 million Canadian, or approximately $118,352 per competitor.
If the mission is so similar, why is the reported cost so much higher? That's where the debate really begins, and where the public discussion has become much more intense. Reports indicate that public funding played a major role in supporting the event, including approximately $15 million from the Canadian federal government and another $15 million from the government of British Columbia. However, critics argue the funding process raises even more questions because, according to reports, the money did not go directly to the games themselves. Instead, reports claim the funding was routed through a separate corporation, which then reportedly paid a licensing fee to the British charity that owns the Invictus name. According to reports, the amount of that licensing fee was redacted from publicly available documents. Once observers noticed that missing figure, many started taking a much closer look at the records.
I sense a cover-up. The Invictus Games Foundation, the British charity at the centre of the operation, recently filed its 2024 annual accounts with the UK Charity Commission after a 2-year grace period. The numbers, Paula reports, raised red flags.
Critics say that's when even more questions began to surface. According to reports, after the British Foundation received an extension and later filed its 2024 accounts, observers carefully examined the financial statements line by line, looking for answers and trying to understand how the reported funds were handled. Reports claim that direct grants to veterans organisations dropped by around 63%, falling from more than £500,000 to roughly £200,000 in just 1 year.
In 2024, the foundation cut its direct grants to veteran organisations by 63%, from £534,973 to just £200,328. The same year that foundation income rose 41%, a new 6-figure executive role was added, and cash reserves grew to £2.3 million.
That reported change has become one of the biggest talking points in the ongoing debate. At the same time, reports indicate the foundation's income increased by more than 40%. A new 6-figure executive position reportedly appeared, while cash reserves were said to have grown beyond £2 million. Those reported figures quickly caught the attention of critics, who are now calling for greater transparency about where the money is going and how it is being used.
Harry and Meghan came in for 10 minutes for an adoring love shot, and of course, Meghan kissed Harry. And it looked like it was good and full. It wasn't. So I think the public interest is waning. And also in this time of economic disparity, people really want to know where their money is going to.
Take another look at those numbers for a moment. According to critics reviewing the financial filings, they believe the overall pattern is difficult to ignore. They point to a year in which funding reportedly directed toward veterans organizations declined, while administrative and operational expenses appeared to move in the opposite direction. Critics argue that contrast continues to attract attention and raise additional questions about the foundation's financial priorities. The questions do not stop there.
And there are lots of other places that actually support veterans, may give them prosthetics if they need, may build a wheelchair ramp at their home, which is necessary, may do things that really help people as opposed to helping Harry's.
Reports indicate legal fees increased from roughly £45,000 to around £155,000 in a single year. Critics say there has been very little public explanation for such a noticeable jump. Another issue drawing attention involves an American for-profit company that reportedly received close to £30,000. While some observers claim the filings offered few details explaining its reported role,
The foundation publicly claims that 92% of every pound spent goes towards charitable activities, a figure that technically falls within UK Charity Commission guidelines. But the term charitable activities includes the cost of running the games themselves, not direct grants or services to veterans.
or the services it provided. Then came another detail that quickly spread across online discussions. According to reports, the financial accounts appear to show 2 different company registration numbers, one on the cover and another on the balance sheet. Critics immediately pointed to that reported discrepancy and began asking more questions. Think about that for a moment. Many people wondered how an organization connected to such a high-profile cause could reportedly have confusion over something as basic as a registration number.
Australia has done a U-turn. They had previously cut funding for the Invictus Games, but now veteran Backlash has forced them to bring it back. But I want to break this down because I'm not buying it, okay? Australian government has reversed its decision to cut funding for Prince Harry's Invictus Australia charity, with Veterans Affairs Minister Matt Keogh announcing that federal support will continue for another 3 years.
Whether it was simply an administrative error or another explanation, the reported difference quickly became another major point of debate. The foundation has reportedly stated that 92% of every pound goes toward charitable activities. On the surface, that sounds like a strong figure, However, critics argue that the term charitable activities can cover a wide variety of expenses, including organizing events, renting venues, travel, accommodations, and production costs.
As part of establishing the new veterans and families' well-being, we're transitioning funding for broader well-being support. Sounds wise. To the veteran community, to that new agency, as we transition in order to maintain continuity and certainty of support services for our veteran community, we're providing another 3 years of funding to
Critics say there is an important difference between funding the operation of the games and providing direct assistance to veterans who may need specialized equipment, accessibility improvements, rehabilitation support, or other practical resources. For many observers, that's where the discussion becomes much more focused and attention shifts directly to the competitors themselves. Reports have also circulated claiming that many wounded and recovering veterans who took part covered expenses such as travel, lodging, and equipment through their own personal resources or support networks, adding another issue that continues to draw public attention.
Yes, I got to be careful with the keywords. He's been under fire because of his African Parks charity, which, again, people have asked him to step down because of the rangers that are working the nonprofit organization in African parks have been accused of, SA and terrible things, torture in the Republic of the Congo.
Critics say that reported detail has struck a nerve with many supporters who believed participants would receive more direct assistance. At the same time, Prince Harry and Meghan have continued to face public scrutiny over reports describing luxury travel, upscale accommodations, and expensive wardrobe choices connected to public appearances. One figure that circulated widely online claimed Meghan's clothing costs reached approximately $180,000, although those estimates have been widely disputed and remain the subject of debate. Critics often compare those reports with claims that some veterans made significant personal sacrifices just to take part in the event. One supporter summed up that frustration by saying, "People donate for the men and women who sacrificed for their country, not for someone's designer wardrobe and room service." That quote has continued to circulate as the discussion grows.
The indigenous rights charity Survival International alleged this week that wrongdoing by the parks was ongoing in the country and called on Prince Harry to resign as a member of the organization's board of directors. African Parks handles the long-term management of 24 protected natural areas in 13 of African countries in partnership with local governments. And the group was accused back in January 2024, which we reported on here, of funding these rangers who had committed human rights abuse.
That helps explain why the petition continues attracting attention and generating debate. Another story also keeps resurfacing whenever people discuss the games. In Tom Bower's book, A Wheelchair Basketball Match Between the United States and Nigeria is described in a way that prompted strong public reactions. According to that account, some American players reportedly stood up and walked away after the game ended. Supporters quickly pointed out that not every injury or disability is visible. Psychological trauma and other service-related conditions are serious and deserve recognition and respect.
Only 11. Now, Boeing has, I believe, cut ties. I am doing that story for News Nation. It'll come out later today about how Boeing was the huge sponsor. The contract has ended and they are not re-signed.
At the same time, critics continue raising questions about competitive classifications and whether the events are structured in a way that promotes fairness for all participants while recognizing different types of service-related injuries. It's the kind of story that sticks with people long after they hear it, and one that continues to spark conversation. Then there are the reports surrounding attendance. Some critics have claimed that certain events appeared to attract smaller crowds than expected, with volunteers reportedly outnumbering spectators by a noticeable margin. Others questioned whether camera angles and event layouts created a very different impression for television viewers compared with what some attendees said they experienced in person. According to several accounts, Prince Harry and Meghan's appearances at some events were also surprisingly brief.
According to tax returns on file, the public picked up half the tab for Vancouver, with the Canadian federal government contributing $15 million through the Veterans Affairs Canada and the province of British Columbia contributing another $15 million through its Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Sport.
Critics describe moments that reportedly lasted only a few minutes, A quick wave, a photo opportunity, a short greeting for the cameras, and then a fast departure. Whether that criticism is fair or not, it has become another point of discussion that continues to keep the debate going. And if you think the questions stop with veterans and supporters, the next part of the story shifts the focus in a completely different direction. This time, attention reportedly turns to government funding and a new round of difficult questions. Australia has long been viewed as one of the Invictus Games' strongest supporters. That's why reports claiming government backing was temporarily withdrawn attracted so much attention. The timing made the situation stand out even more because, according to reports, it happened while Prince Harry and Meghan were actively encouraging public support and enthusiasm for the Games. Think about how that appears from the outside. You're trying to build momentum, encouraging people to support the project, and then reports emerge claiming that one of your biggest backers is stepping away. That's exactly the kind of headline organisers would rather avoid. Some Australian observers have pointed out that the support was later reinstated, with reports indicating that the funding eventually returned. Even so, critics continue focusing on the original decision. Their argument is simple. If officials were willing to pause support in the first place, what concerns reportedly led them to make that decision? Governments do not usually make funding decisions lightly, especially when programs involving veterans are concerned. That's why the conversation quickly grew beyond public relations and shifted toward broader questions about accountability, value for money, and the long-term future of the Games. According to critics, those same concerns may also help explain why attention has increasingly turned toward major corporate sponsors. Take Boeing, for example. The aerospace company was reportedly one of the leading presenting sponsors for the Vancouver Games. Reports indicate that when its sponsorship agreement came to an end, the company chose not to renew it, adding another point that has fueled ongoing public discussion. Critics quickly pointed to that reported decision as another possible warning sign. For many observers, Boeing's involvement carried added significance because of the company's long history with military aviation and the defense industry.
The remaining funds came from approximately 40 corporate partners and about $2.6 million in individual donations. Crucially, that public money didn't flow directly to the Games.
That's why reports that its sponsorship was not renewed generated so much discussion. Critics began asking a straightforward but uncomfortable question. If a company with strong connections to military communities decides not to continue its support, what message does that send? That question led many people to take a closer look at the sponsorship figures and compare them with previous events. Reports suggest the Vancouver Games benefited from more than 40 corporate partners. By comparison, the upcoming Birmingham Games have reportedly secured around 11 sponsors, with an estimated combined contribution of about £4 million. Critics argue that the smaller number has raised questions about sponsor confidence and long-term enthusiasm for the event. Another issue drawing significant attention involves public funding. Reports indicate that the UK government has committed up to £26 million toward the Birmingham Games. Critics often compare that figure with Birmingham's widely reported financial challenges in recent years, noting ongoing public concerns about local budgets, council finances, and public services. That's where the debate becomes especially heated. Critics argue that if private companies appear hesitant to contribute more funding, taxpayers should not be expected to shoulder a larger share of the overall cost. That argument continues to drive discussion as preparations for the Games move forward. Supporters, meanwhile, continue to argue that the Games provide benefits that cannot be measured by financial reports, balance sheets, or budget figures alone. They say the impact on wounded and recovering service members goes far beyond the numbers. At the same time, according to reports, another issue has reportedly been developing behind the scenes. Critics claim that some qualified professionals were hesitant to pursue roles connected to the Birmingham operation because of the ongoing controversy and public debate surrounding the Invictus brand. If those reports are accurate, critics argue it could present a significant reputational challenge for the organisation.
It was routed through the Vancouver Whistler Games Corporation, which then paid a licensing fee to the Invictus Games Foundation, the British charity that owns and licenses the Games brand. The amount of that licensing fee was oddly redacted.
Managing funding concerns is one issue. Having people reportedly question whether they want to be publicly associated with the project is a very different challenge altogether. For critics, that's where the discussion expands beyond Invictus itself. They point to other organizations that have received significant public attention while Prince Harry was connected to them. Centerball, the charity he co-founded in honor of his mother, became the focus of well-publicized disagreements, leadership disputes, legal proceedings, and resignations that generated widespread media coverage. African Parks has also received significant attention following allegations and concerns that attracted broad public reporting. Critics have questioned Prince Harry's response and level of public engagement regarding those issues, while supporters argue the situations are far more complex than they are often portrayed. No matter where people stand, critics say they see a recurring pattern that continues to attract public attention. They point to projects that begin with strong public support but later become associated with reported disputes, leadership disagreements, resignations, or ongoing controversy. Because of that, many observers believe the scrutiny surrounding Invictus is no longer focused on just one event. Instead, it has become part of a much broader conversation that shows little sign of fading anytime soon. Even the recognition Prince Harry has received has become part of that debate. When he reportedly received the Pat Tillman Award, named after former NFL player and U.S. Army Ranger Pat Tillman, reactions came quickly. Supporters praised his work with veterans, while critics argued the honor should have gone to someone else. The discussion rapidly spread across social media and online forums. Some critics argued that Prince Harry was recognized more because of his public profile than because of direct day-to-day involvement. Their position was not necessarily that he performed the role poorly. Instead, they questioned how personally involved he was in the organization's daily operations. Others strongly disagreed with that view, arguing that the Invictus Games may never have reached their current international profile without Prince Harry's leadership and support. But regardless of which side people supported, the award became another major flashpoint in an already heated public discussion. According to ongoing reports and commentary, that growing level of scrutiny may be one reason difficult. Questions are now reportedly being asked behind palace walls as well. Reports have suggested that Prince William and those connected to the Royal Foundation are placing a strong emphasis on transparency and accountability. Critics claim the message is simple: show the numbers, clearly explain the finances, and respond to the questions that continue to be raised.
Failure of As Ever is simply impossible to ignore, and more people are picking up on this. Because Meghan Markle made such a fuss about her business, because she had to go endlessly on and prattle on about how great As Ever was doing, how it sold out its first couple of launches, of course that brings a lot of attention to the brand.
Whether those reports are accurate or not, they have continued fueling speculation about the relationship between the monarchy and the Invictus Games. Some commentators even argue that the reported absence of senior royals from future events may have less to do with personal disagreements and more to do with avoiding any association with ongoing controversy. At least that's one theory that critics continue discussing. But the conversation does not stop with Prince Harry. According to critics, Meghan's public image and business ventures have also become part of the broader debate, adding another layer to an already closely watched story. During visits to Australia, including appearances connected to communities affected by tragedy and visits with hospital patients, some critics later argued that Meghan benefited from the publicity surrounding those events, when outfits she wore were reportedly linked to online promotion and increased consumer interest. Those reports quickly became another topic of public discussion. Supporters argue that this is simply the reality for many well-known public figures and celebrities whose clothing often attracts attention after major appearances. Critics, however, viewed the situation very differently, saying the emotional setting of those visits made the reported promotional attention feel inappropriate. That disagreement helped keep the story circulating across news outlets and social media. Meanwhile, Meghan's lifestyle brand has continued to generate intense online discussion. Critics have claimed that some product launches fell short of expectations, while certain items appeared to create more online conversation than consumer demand. Candles and other home products became some of the most talked about items, with debates spreading across social media platforms. Some critics pointed to reports of premium pricing, while others questioned product quality after customer reviews and complaints appeared online. Whether those criticisms are fair or not, the discussions quickly became part of the broader public conversation surrounding the brand. There was also debate surrounding references to family themes and personal milestones used in the branding. Critics argued that some marketing choices felt overly personal, while supporters saw them as harmless details intended to give the products a more personal connection.
And as the brand continues to flatline, it's bringing a lot of attention to that as well. And Jack Royston of Newsweek has revealed something rather interesting. However, I feel like he's missing sort of the bigger issue because he sees a somewhat causation between the decline in Meghan Markle's popularity and the decline in website traffic and likely sales to her brand.
As with so many parts of this story, opinions remain sharply divided. Another incident that attracted attention involved reports that a gift package was sent to a supporter who had previously posted criticism of Prince William and Princess Catherine online. Critics argued that the story reflected poorly on Meghan's public image, while supporters questioned whether the significance of the incident was being overstated. According to many commentators, that's where the broader debate continues to grow. According to some commentators, Prince Harry remains deeply committed to the charitable mission of the Invictus Games and genuinely cares about its purpose. They argue that many of the strongest complaints begin when public attention shifts away from veterans and towards celebrity coverage. Whether that assessment is fair depends on who you ask, but it is an argument that continues to resurface whenever the future of the Games is discussed. At the same time, one theory gaining traction among critics is far less comfortable. They argue that Prince Harry either does not fully recognize the scale of the concerns being raised, or has been unwilling to address them directly by saying, "We need to step back." Because of that, one suggestion continues appearing again and again in public discussions. Then there are the reports about what some insiders are allegedly saying behind the scenes.
But I actually think her popularity probably doesn't have a huge impact on what's happening with As Ever. It has more to do with simply bad business practice.
According to ongoing commentary, the immediate priority is simply getting through the Birmingham Games successfully. Some reports suggest that people involved with the organization want to deliver the event first and deal with the larger questions afterward. As things stand right now, the petition continues, attracting attention and keeping the debate firmly in the public spotlight. Reports suggest that senior members of the royal family are continuing to keep their distance. Boeing reportedly chose not to renew its sponsorship, while questions about government funding, corporate support, financial transparency, and the long-term future of the Invictus Games continue to generate public debate. Critics argue that the one decision that could dramatically change the conversation may also be the hardest one to make. No matter what happens next, Prince Harry is still widely expected to be front and center at the Birmingham Games because, according to many observers, not attending simply is not seen as an option. But the biggest question is no longer whether Harry will arrive in Birmingham. The real question is what kind of future will be waiting for the Games once he does. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below and join the conversation.